Welcome to this edition of Week in Review. I'm Marlon Paley, along with Mackenzie Campbell, and also beside her, Brianna Neely, and beside her, the great Lee Aveling, and beside him, the voice on the phone. If you haven't met him or seen him, this is Jay Hughes. He's a part of the team here at LLBN, and he likes to call you and talk to you about various things, to give you an encouraging word and to help you brighten up your day. And we want to thank you for brightening up our day. And the example of that is a letter that Jay is going to share with us. Now, you get all the letters come through your office, don't they, Jay?
Yes, they do. And daily we pick up the mail and we get some letters. Of course, I get to hear a lot of the comments on the phone when I talk to our donors. And I'll tell you what, the more we receive of these, the more encouraging they are to our team and to the viewers that get to hear them on the air. I'll start with the first letter I have. It's really short but very sweet, from Don of Partlow, Virginia. And he says, just a note to let you know how much I appreciate LLBN. I listen every week, and from Friday evening to Sunday evening, except when I go to my church Sabbath morning. I'm sending a small donation. I hope it will help a little. And Don, as we know, these little donations go a long way, and they add up to make big donations together. And
what state is he from?
Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don, thank you so much for your generosity and your kind words. We really appreciate it. I think you have another one to share, Jay.
I sure do. I have one from Herschel of Colonial Heights, Virginia. Both from Virginia today. Yeah. I didn't even notice that till I read the last. But he says, I want to thank all the people involved in the gathering place for the beautiful singing and playing of the instruments on all the programs.
Oh, the Gathering Place is one of our strongest programs. You out there in television lands just seem to love it. Gathering Place is going to be with us here in LLBN for a long time. As well as new and interesting program, not really dealing with music, but we've got a series of special programs that is coming up real soon. That you might want to learn about, and Brianna is here to tell us more about that. What kind of series is it, Brianna?
Well, Marlon, it's actually a series that highlights Creation Sabbath, and that's all about understanding how science and faith can come together to show us more about God. And I'll actually be co-hosting that program with Tim Standish, Dr. Tim Standish of the Geoscience Research Institute, and it airs October 23rd through 28th at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
So how many programs did you shoot with Dr. Standish?
We shot 5 programs, so it'll be a 5-part series.
It's kind of like all week.
Yes.
So can our viewers just log on to the website to get their times in their time zones?
Yes, they sure can. They can go and look at the schedule, and it'll be airing that week in place of Christian Connections and every night until Friday night.
Is it going to be seen on his light, or do we know that yet?
I don't think we know that yet, but as we find the information, we'll let our viewers know. Definitely
on his word, so take advantage of this rare opportunity culminating on Creation Sabbath. We have a variety of programs, not only on his word, but for the foreign channels and also the smart lifestyle channels. And Mackenzie is here to give us kind of an overview of a couple of programs. What are you going to tell us about today, Mackenzie?
Yeah, so the first program I'm going to talk about is called Planet in Distress. It's a documentary on his word about where our Earth is headed, so kind of related to Creation Week. And it is also about our jobs as stewards of this Earth and end-time events, what we should expect to see in those events at the end of the world. And so it's interesting if you enjoy science, also end-of-time events. It's definitely a program for you. And of course, you can find when this is airing on our schedule on LLBN.tv. It's also on YouTube, so if you go to our website, go to programs, and then underneath documentaries, you can click on Planet in Distress, and it'll be on YouTube, and all those videos are there archived for you to watch whenever you want to.
That's pretty interesting because here we are celebrating the creation on His Word with the special that Brianna and Tim Standish did, and also we have the full spectrum because Planet in Distress is all about undoing creation, the man's undoing of creation. So. What else do you have for us?
Yeah, so the next program is a little bit different. It's called Journey of Hope. It's a program on Smart Lifestyle TV, but it was previously aired on His Word, but now we have it archived on Smart Lifestyle. And it is these people that come onto the show. It's a talk show interview, and they talk about their experience from going to being stressed and being just struggling with whatever medical challenge in their life, and they go through this journey, and they come out with healing and wholeness. And it's just a great encouragement to our viewers, people who are struggling with medical challenges or many other things in their lives. And once again, you can find this on smartlifestyletv.com. You can look at the schedule on the website, see when it's airing, or you can go to YouTube and our channel, and all the programs are there on our channel too.
So you can watch it at your own leisure. You don't, you're not really
On
tied
YouTube,
to the schedule. It's a really interesting program because he covers recovery and healing from, let's say, cancer to all the way to accidents or other challenges that come in.
Yep.
Well, speaking of challenges, this has been a challenging week for the nation and the world. Each week since the weather disasters have been happening, we've tried to include a news feature, and this week the news is pretty grim, and Brianna is here to tell us more about it. Brianna?
Yes, Marlon. Today we're actually focusing on the mass shooting that occurred in Las Vegas at a country music festival this past Sunday evening. As we know so far, 58 people were killed and at least 489 were injured there. And if you've seen some of the footage or videos, it's pretty disheartening. You see people running and ducking. They don't even seem to know where it's coming from. And so far, authorities have found ammunition, explosives, firearms at 3 different locations, and they're considering that the shooter did not act alone. And as we know, the shooter did take his life at the end of this. But we're asking for prayers for those family members and the survivors, people who were affected. They're going to need a lot of emotional support right now.
Well, thank you for that report. And to that end, Jay has a couple of verses that we want to share with you, kind of related. Jay?
I certainly do. I want to share 2 texts. I know you asked me for one, but I'm going to fudge it and get a little extra in here.
That's all right. You can't have too many as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Right. These 2 verses have helped me personally immensely through loss and through perplexity in my life. One of them, and it seems so simple, but it shows how Christ reaches in and understands what we have going on in our lives. And it's John 11:35, and it's simply Jesus wept. And that's in relation to the loss of Lazarus. Secondly, I have another verse, Matthew 16:33, and this is Christ when he says, I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world.
You know, that's a really special thing that we have as Christians. We have Jesus to turn to. Imagine those people in the world that have nowhere where to turn to. They need very, very special help, and we're so blessed to have one of those healthcare professionals with us today, Lee Aveling, that specializes in grief recovery. Tell us a little bit about your training in that area.
Well, it's been on-the-job training, Marlon, but I went and got a doctorate in pastoral counseling, which helped me understand a little bit more about grief. And I'm also a California licensed therapist. And this training, gives me some ideas on what to do in situations like that. But I just can't imagine the horror that a lot of the people felt.
Now, you are directly involved with grief recovery of some of the victims at the Las Vegas event.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us, how do you deal with this?
Well, first of all, just listening, getting them to open up and listening. There's a saying, what you can talk out, you don't have to act out. And when people clam up and don't talk about it, it's going to come back sometime. It could come back in physical symptoms, all sorts of symptoms. So it's really important to talk about it. But at the same time, don't open something you can't close, because sometimes with grief, there's hormones secreted when we grieve into our bloodstream, and you might remember how when you have a loss, all of a sudden you remember previous losses. And some people have a lot of losses they're dealing with already. So it's important to be aware of that, and hopefully a therapist, when they're working with them, will be aware of that too.
Now, this is not like a loss from an illness or even a car accident. I mean, that's traumatic enough. Yeah. But to have so much of a senseless loss, how do people deal with that?
I'm in the same position. How do you deal with that? Just look at different coping skills that you might have grown up with. It's good to get into support groups, talk about what's going on as well, but also meditating on God's Word, just realizing that we live in a world of strife, but God has promised at some time that that's all going to end.
And that would be my last question to you. Yeah. What role does Jesus Christ play in the lives of these people? And also you, I mean, you have to absorb this traumatic stories, and you're a witness to what these people are going through. What role does Jesus play in all that?
I think Jesus grieves with us. He's been through grief himself. Grief is very biblical. There's nowhere in the Bible that says not to grieve. Just don't grieve without hope. And so Jesus brings hope. That, yes, we're going to go through trials and tribulations. The Apostle Paul says that when you're going through tribulations, realize it's strengthening your character. Though when you're going through it, you don't necessarily see it that way. But it's important to realize that Jesus is at our side, and he may not take it away, but he'll give us the means to deal with it.
And the Bible speaks of that refining fire. And we all have had various degrees of discomfort and tragedy in our lives. And as Jay shared with us, that's not going to go away until the last day, when Jesus comes to finally, once and for all, free us from the knowledge of good and evil. We made as a humanity, as a human race, we made a big mistake when we wanted to find out about the difference between good and evil. Jesus is soon coming to restore that state of bliss. He says you have to become as a little child, and that's what it takes. So I want to thank all of you for participating in this program, and thanks to you, Lee, for your healing work, and I know that God is guiding you to make a difference. We want to thank you for your support of this ministry. Your financial support is very important to us at this time, so thank you in advance from all of us here at the Loma Linda Broadcasting Network. See you next time.